Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I just wanted to let you know that you can find the slides for this presentation here in the comment section, in addition to many more information about the topic. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And with that, have a lot of fun.
I'm very glad to be here today and talking to you about these 5 pillars of the SAP Business Technology Platform. So what we'll be covering today in the next 45 minutes, it's about why should we even use a technology platform? What exactly is it? Why is it different to maybe other technology platforms out there? What then in detail are these 5 pillars? Who is using it right now? And then also how you could get started if you're looking into it. So let's zoom out and cover the first point. Why are companies even using technology platforms? And I will give you 5 reasons. So the first one is, it's about extending and personalizing. For example, creating just a field, an extra field in your applications, or even building a complete new application. Something that might be personalized directly to your business and bringing this uniqueness to your different business processes. The second reason is to accelerate. Instead of building everything yourself, using a platform, maybe one platform that composes all of the different technologies, to be able to quickly gain some value from building out new things in your organization. Also to optimize and automate. So for example, connecting all these different systems that you have in your organization, or even if you have a lot of repetitive tasks in a high volume of things, instead of just doing them manually, automating and optimizing them. And of course, to innovate, to create new business models, to create new revenue streams, to keep up to speed with what you need to do in your organization to keep up with the market, to be not one of those that we've maybe seen in the previous session, one of those Kodaks, Blackberries, and so on, so to become one of the leaders in the space. And then, last but not least, to be also generating a lot of data out of your insights. So understanding what kind of data do you have available and interpret it in real time. So these are the 5 reasons that you can see of why are companies using a technology platform. Let me now introduce you to the SAP Business Technology Platform. And I want to put a question back to you. Please raise your hand, all of you, and give me a 1 if you have heard about it. Give me a number 2, okay, if you have already are using some of the areas. Come on, I don't see all of the hands up. Get the hands up, great. Or number 3, if you're using all of the 5 pillars. Okay. Oh, I see even a number 5. Great. So, okay, thank you very much. I just want to understand of what kind of level I want to speak to you today. So, what exactly is now the SAP Business Technology Platform? Well, you probably have seen that picture, but just to quickly cover it. So, this is our strategy vision for how every customer become an intelligent and sustainable enterprise. In the middle, you have your cloud ERP, which is centered then around with the different lines of businesses, from your human capital management, your spend management, supply chain management, or customer relationship management. And all of this is underpinned by a technology platform, the Business Technology Platform. And it has 5 key points, 5 key main areas. The first one is application development. So how to build and develop applications. It's about automation, how you can automate different things, how you integrate and connect things in your landscape, how you can have data and analytics tools in your organization to understand your data, and also AI. So these are the key 5 pillars. And if we now double click on these, we have them in a bit more detail. So for example here, the application development part, we're talking about low-code capabilities or no-code capabilities, or even pro-code capabilities. In the automation space, we're talking about workflow management. We're talking about robotic process automation. In the integration space, we're talking about how we're connecting connecting processes, but also how we're connecting and using APIs, how we're using maybe newer forms like event-driven integration. We're looking into the data and analytics space. We're talking about planning, right? How can you run your planning process? How can you forecast and also do simulations? And we're talking also about data management and also operational databases. And in the last part, we're talking about AI, how you can use pre-trained models, but also models that you might want to build yourself. So if somebody goes out of this room and asks you, hey, you have been to Vivia's session about the BTP, this is your first mental snapshot that you can do. You're obviously also welcome to take a picture. You will get the slides. But if there's somebody asking you, Then you come back in this. These are the 5 pillars of the business technology platform to understand more of like what this can be helping you in your organization. But I like to always start also with why is the BTP maybe different? And here I want to give you now, again, 5 reasons. The first one is about composability. So composability means that the BTP itself allows you to put it into different applications, SAP, but also non-SAP systems, and build things on top of it. Portability, we have a multi-cloud strategy. What that means is you can choose on which hyperscaler of your choice you can run. And I will come back to that a bit later. Business centricity. We are not called without a reason the business technology platform, because B stands for business centricity. Because we at SAP understand business processes. And from our experience, we leverage that knowledge and also bring it back into the business technology platform to support your business processes better. The fourth one is around pre-built content. We want to make things easy for you. We want to give you the best head start. So understanding again, what is important for all of our customers, we build a lot of these contents already out, so you don't need to start from zero. And the last one is about industry best practices. We have a lot of different industries that we are covering with SAP technology. And thereby we understand what are the different parts that we are helping you and can again give you some best practices and guidance on how to leverage the technology platform. So here again, second mental snapshot, right? Maybe why are things different? Here, 5 reasons: composability, portability, business centricity, business pre-built content, and industry best practices. Okay, but this is a lot of things that I am saying, standing here from you from SAP. But I think I want to show you somebody, and that's Pietro, and apologies, my picture-taking skills are not the best because he's literally just leading away. But this was one of the BTP Innovation Days that we have facilitated. And he talked about a use case, what he has done with the business technology platform. And I really liked his lessons learned and his observations. So let's zoom a bit more in. I hope it's readable. Otherwise, I will quickly go over it. So we have here the things and lessons learned that Pietro mentioned when he was working with the business technology platform. First of all, he said quick deployment times. Because if you just switch on a service and you build something up, you can quickly develop something and get it to market and gain some value out of it. We have a huge breadth. I showed you these 5 pillars on a high level. Below there are so many different services that you can use. So it has a huge variety of things. Again, what you will need in your business, maybe then you can switch these services on, test them out. No massive commitment, because we work on a credit basis. So you buy some credits and then you can exchange them for the different services that you want to use. You test something out, right? And then maybe you see, okay, this one is not working, so you switch it off. And again, you don't have a massive commitment. You have this breadth of different services. And these services, again, are what you maybe then need, and you can test them out in a quick way. It's a modern approach because we put a lot of innovations in the business technology platform. And let me phrase it maybe a bit differently. So our CTO, Jürgen Müller, under him are 10,000 people, right? And in SAP, we have around 100,000, 110,000 people. So we have 10,000 people day in, day out developing, right? These are only the developers or like working for improving the technology. This is how much we are committed to the platform. And you can see here again, we are like putting all of the new innovations, for example, including AI, into this platform. It's a different SAP. Well, we have again developed, right? It's not what you maybe know from when we did our customizations directly in the core and coded all of the Z transactions. It is a different way, a modern approach. And connectivity, connectivity, connectivity. So it's about bringing these different things together, having it all in one platform, instead of maybe using a lot of different vendors, and then you're about what? Okay, you have now single siloed applications, which might not be communicative and working directly with you. Okay, so these were a bit Pietro's words. Of course, now I'm a bit phrased with my words, but let's go back to these pillars. And I said to you, this is what the session's about. We're going to do a overview of these 5 pillars. This is an overview session, so I will jump in and out of these different sessions, okay, of these different sections. And if you want to learn more, I've seen on the agenda a lot of different sessions that are covering these in more detail. I could speak about these, oh, I can keep you in this room for a long time if you want to, right? But again, I just will dip in and out, okay? So it will be a bit going through a lot of different things now in the next part. But what I see when we sometimes get this slide out and talk about these different things and zoom really deep in is that customers are a bit confused, you know, because it's a lot of things that are happening. So what I will try is to give you a bit of an overview and help you to understand. And how we're doing this, we will do it a bit differently today. So we have developed these more like simplified visuals, and we will go through each of them, also always referencing back to the different parts of the platform. So let's start with the first one, breaking the data silos. On the left-hand side, you can see a lot of like siloed, unstructured, and replicated data. And ideally, that should be connected, structured, and not duplicated. So now, if you may have now recognized it, we're going into the data and analytics space. So in this data analytics space, we have three main solutions. The first one is around planning and analytics. So when it comes to the planning, this doesn't happen only in the IT organization. So it needs to have a vertical layer that can talk with your different LOB solutions, right? It needs to happen in your supply chain, in your HR, and so on. So that's why we provide like a vertical layer where you then can do your planning motions, but also have analytic and self-service capabilities. Then we have data management and data warehousing capabilities with our SAP DataSphere solution, where we harmonize data and also can bring in external data. And third, we have our operational databases with our HANA cloud database, where we're bringing these different capabilities of a database together so you can build different applications on top. So these are the three solutions, and I will go now a bit more in detail into these. So the first one, the SAP Analytics Cloud. Again, a solution for you to do analytics and also planning. So if we go in a bit more detail, what can you do? Well, first of all, you can deliver mission-critical analytics with creating different dashboards, reports in this kind of nice-looking way, right? But also with getting different insights. So giving either people access to these different dashboards so they have always an up-to-date view, or even building these different dashboards and also giving them a lot of self-service capabilities. Then, as I mentioned, you can also use it for transforming your enterprise planning. So it's about creating this, having this one tool where everybody can collaborate in the planning process. You will find anomalies, you will understand what kind of like forecasting mechanisms you have, you will understand more of like what kind of simulations to run. All of this, again, in this one platform. And we also have infused AI into this, and I will come back to this later. But let's take a quick look at a couple of things. So how does this solution look like? Here right now we are in the modeler. So you can see here the different data that we have prepared in SAP DataSphere, but still again, you can have an understanding and also a couple of modeling options in this solution, where you, for example, also get a different type of viewpoint of your data and how it is connected. And then when you think, okay, this data is now ready to really kind of bring it into some kind of report or in a visualized way, you then can create a story, which we call like a dashboard. And we're now using the same data sample set, what you can see here, and we're opening it up. We need to do some additional selection points of like, what is important to us in this dashboard, what should get displayed, and then you get this kind of overview. You have different options, right? You can build it from scratch, or you can use some of the templates. Again, we're providing a lot of pre-built content also here to make your journey in this area easier. You can, of course, then drill down, you can share these dashboards. Again, it's a bit the use for what you needed in your organization. Okay, moving over to the second of these three data solutions, right? The SAP DataSphere. So our SAP DataSphere is our data warehousing and data management solution. And in SAP DataSphere, what we have noticed generally when we look at the market is that data itself, or the different data that get produced, happens in many more silos. And what has been happening in the past is that you should take this data out of your different applications and put it all into a data lake. But what happens with this data is that it gets taken out of its context. So you will lose some of the like semantics that come with your data. So what we have seen is that there was a big shift in terms of the mindset that you should not just focus on having the right technology and then the data will come with it in this kind of, for example, data lake. Instead, having a bit more of a focus by having the right data. Because some of my customers have been actually spending a lot of time replicating just these kind of like metadata parts that they have been losing. So 18K of lines going through it, understanding how to replicate this data. And you can imagine that is quite, first of all, a time-consuming, but also a costly project. So instead of doing this, we believe that you should keep your data in context for also better decisioning. And how we're doing this is with SAP DataSphere. You can see some of the capabilities from, again, self-servicing data access over to data ingestion. And what we'll be doing here is that it's about this data federation a lot. So you can see it here in the data ingestion. So instead of just taking the data and ripping it out of its context, we have some kind of data federation. So you kind of think about it as this kind of layer that kind of shoots things, but still keeps the data where it is, but brings also the semantic level with it. And this is what we call a business data fabric. So something that is kind of like layering over it in terms of where we're also seeing this solution is going forward and what the capabilities are of it. But again, let's look at a quick video to understand a bit more and have maybe seen the technology and what we're talking about. So SAP DataSphere comes with data integration, cataloging, semantic modeling, data warehousing, and virtualization. And here we have the catalog. So again, different data aspects, which, for example, some of your organization have published and others, again, can consume. So you then go through and what are the different data assets, you can prepare and then model them. You can, of course, also restrict some of the data assets for some users and open it up for some areas. Then we can also build out different connections. And I think this is really the beauty here when we go into the cloud and also in the on-premise part, you see some of the logos of where you can have some data connections, which are these federated data connections that I mentioned. But there, of course, are also other ways. And then there's also the part where you can have a data marketplace. So you can, of course, bring in other data points from external data points, but you can also think about maybe how can you, with the data that you have in your organization, of course, in an anonymized way, maybe make it to a data product, a data assets which you monetize and offer, for example, in this data marketplace. So a couple of capabilities that I've just shown you here. And in the space, we are really driven by simplifying what is happening in this data space. So that is why we also collaborate with a lot of these different vendors that you can see here that are leading in their areas of the market. And what we mean by collaborate is, again, making it easier by bringing these different data points together in, for example, SAP DataSphere. So, for example, with Google, we have also, again, this kind of federated data connection to, for example, Google BigQuery. So if you are having one of these vendors already, think about also maybe how you can use then the SAP Business Data Fabric in your organization for harmonizing and simplifying your data landscape. Here, I just brought this reference architecture. I know some of you appreciate it and some of you are like, oh my God, I don't want to look at the architecture diagram. But I just want to highlight again here, and definitely not go into detail, but you see again these data federation adapters, right? You can see it here of how something like this, for example, could look like with the different hyperscalers that are obviously also big in the data game. Okay, moving over now to the database part. So there we have SAP HANA Cloud, which is our multi-model database management system. And what can you do? We have a lot of different ways in terms of databases, in terms of the different features and functionalities that come with it. We have spatial, graph, machine learning, text, JSON doc, store, or vector engine. So generally it's about a database that is for relational, document storage, geospatial, and graph parts. And what I mean by this is that I want to highlight one particular area, which is the vector area. Who has heard about vectors and large language models? Some hands go up. Okay, so I will make it a bit in a simple form. Vectors is taking, first, if you have a text document, you need to break it down into text chunks. Then you need to put it into embeddings, and then you can vectorize them. Why do you need to vectorize them? Because it helps you to perform a similarity search. And again, when you put a query into a large language model, you will need to have the most similar match to whatever your query is about. So that is why like a vectorizing of different, for example, PDFs are really important, because if you ask, hey, what is about my car policy in my organization, it will scan the whole document and then understand what is maybe the closest to. So for example, database and analytics in such a vector similarity search would be maybe quite close together. but database and banana, probably not so much. So you understand a bit where we're going to. So this is what, for example, one of those newer parts that we're adding to our database, so that again, it lays the foundation for an AI journey that you might want to go on to. Okay, we are now moving over. We are coming back to this slide. We covered the first one. Now we go into connecting the process dots. So you have a lot of different applications, which are maybe the different dots. And now we want to organize them, connect them. Anybody guessing? We're getting into the integration space, right? So we were in the data space, and now we're going over into a different area. And there I want to introduce you to SAP Integration Suite. So SAP Integration Suite is a way of how you can connect processes, people, data points together in your organization to make them more seamlessly work together. And when it comes to the Integration Suite, you can do this on-premise, you can do this hybrid, and in the cloud. What you can see here, for example, on this video is an integration flow. And what we're adding is a connector to translate between like one language into another language. So again, sometimes that is needed if you need to connect different applications, and that there's a better understanding between these different applications, processes, or data points. So when it comes to integration, we don't want to talk just integration. We of course want to understand what can we integrate with it. So with the Integration Suite, of course, you can integrate SAP applications, so SAP to SAP. But you can also integrate third parties, so SAP to non-SAP, but also non-SAP to non-SAP, you can integrate with the Integration Suite. You can also integrate to different governments. You can also integrate to different B2B partners. And how do you do this? With these different capabilities. So let me just cover a couple of them. First, you have the integration assessment. So this helps you to define an integration strategy. It's about, right, how would you assess, it's about how would you go about, what are the different integration points that are really crucial to your business, which you might want to do them with cloud integrations. So there you go about an end-to-end process from application to application, from a business to a government, or from a business to a business. But we also have different APIs management, where you discover, where you design them, and where you basically manage the whole life cycle of an API. We also have the SAP Advanced Event Mesh, which is about event-driven architecture. It's a newer way of how to integrate, and I will come back to that in a second. And we also have open connectors, which are basically out-of-the-box connectivities that we have already built for you, so you don't need to build it out yourself. On top of this, we have the Business Accelerator Hub. And this is now my first hot tip to you. If you haven't been on this website, Google SAP Business Accelerator Hub, because I know it's very small, but it's over 4,000 pre-built integrations. Over 3,400 pre-built integrations, which is quite a lot. So if there's not an integration that you don't have, I don't bet there must be something on there. Or over almost 4,000 APIs that are already built out there. So again, this is what you come back to, right? How are we different? Pre-built content, business centricity, all in there. This is all then underpinned by our multi-cloud strategy. Again, when we're coming back to these 5 points, right? The portability. You can choose which one you want to run it on. We also have one of our newer parts, which is the Edge Integration Cell, which basically gives you also an on-premise part of how to run your integrations. So this is a quick overview about the Integration Suite. I did bring you a quick video about the open connectors, just again to show you the different brands where we have already built out these open connectors out of the box for you to integrate. You probably will recognize maybe some of these logos. And we are just at H, right? So I just kind of made a video to show you how long I needed to scroll through to show you these different connectors. Who of you is still using process integration or PI? Yeah, they went a hand up. So you probably, again, this is one of the older software ways of how to integrate, right? It's no secret that this is replaced by the SAP, or is being replaced by the SAP Integration Suite. And that there is now also a set end date, 2027, for end of maintenance. So if you have not started thinking about it, maybe start now, okay? So with this talk, maybe today, one of the points that you put on your, okay, what should I start thinking about is how you think about this migration. And we give you a lot of tools, we give you a lot of guidance, we give you a lot to help you in this way. So there is a tool, for example, that can analyze how much of your existing integrations could be, for example, more of like a easy bringing it over, and which one of those need a bit more of a manual way to analyze them. And thereby, just, again, no, this is very busy, I kept it in for you. It's not about, don't start to read it all because you will not finish it, but it's just to give you a bit of an overview, how much of this free assessment, how much of this is paid, and the best part, an email address where you can ask them and write them, hey, I would be interested in starting this free assessment. This is not exactly where you want to maybe take the video, so you can action upon this, this one mental point that you put in there. So in case you are interested, they're very responsive in terms of starting this migration path. Okay, but if we're now looking a bit more into the newer capabilities of the integration suite, have you heard about this term spaghetti architecture? Yeah, no, never heard about it. I guess it's quite clear from where the term is coming from, because the landscapes get more and more complex and you need to integrate more and more different applications together. You might not always want to build out a full-fledged integration, because again, your architecture might look at some point even more like this. That is why we have introduced something new, which is this kind of event-driven architecturing. So you have, again, your similar different parts that you want to integrate, but instead of building out like integration from each point and then from one point to another, we're putting something that is called this advanced event mesh in the middle. So an event is in a change of state. So what that means is if there's a new update in your process orders, if there is a new delivery coming in, if there is an update to this delivery, anything that is a change. This event communicates them to a broker. And to this broker, different other applications can subscribe to. So whenever there is a new update, the broker sends a message, hey, I have an update. So that means that other applications get notified about this. This method is often used with more like loosely coupled integrations. There is another session also which I've seen tomorrow. So if you're more interested in this particular newer way of integrating, check that session out. Here also a couple of screenshots in terms of just understanding that there are queues where you then can subscribe to, and then they get notified and the different messages that has been either published or either consumed. When it comes to the integration suite, I don't want to hide these numbers because it is used a lot. And I think one particular one to highlight is that we have integrated over 2,000 different systems with that product. Over 2,000 different systems. We have deployed more than 650 instances, okay? So it is a widely used and also widely adopted part. Again, if you are thinking about somewhere how to maybe start your BTP journey, if you're just showing a one, this is maybe a good way to also get started. Okay, coming back to this picture now. So take your integration hat off, and now we're going into making everybody a builder. Anybody guess in which direction we're now going? Oh, apps, yes. So we're going into the application and automation space. So now, completely different hat that you want to take on. And we're going now into this overview picture. So when it comes to how to develop applications, there are like three different ways, or like three different parts of how we are doing this. The first one is in a low-code way, so SAP Build, it's called. There are different ways, and I will show you in a second what that entails. Then we also have SAP Build Code, so that is more the pro-code way of how to develop. And then we also have ABAP environment on the BTP. So let's get started. Of course, by the way, this is all underpinned because you need integrations, right, for building applications, but you don't want to have it siloed, and you might also need the right data. So that's where these two products, SAP Integration Suite and SAP DataSphere, again, come in for building applications. So SAP Build apps. So in the first bucket, right, SAP Build, we have three sub-products. And this one is the first one. It's a way of, in a low-code fashion way, or no-code fashion way even, to build applications. You've maybe seen on the first one where you kind of simply drag and drop the different components on the canvas. So what you see is what you get. Here we're just building a weather application. So you're dragging and dropping these different components, and then of course you just have built the interface now. Now you want to understand, if you, for example, put a button in there, when you click on this button, nothing happens. So that's how you need to build a logic into it. So you've seen maybe at the bottom this quick part of like how it was creating these different parts out in terms of, okay, when I click here, then this happens and then this happens. So kind of a logic path. You can either use, for example, a HANA database below this, what we've just seen before, or you can also use like an inbuilt database that we also have as part of this. I want to quickly talk to you about PivPuff Alimentos. So PivPuff Alimentos is a Brazilian food company. And they had, when we're looking in their maintenance of their different production area, a very manual process. So what they did is they went to a machine, had a piece of paper, took note of what was going on, and went back with this paper to the system and entered it in 2 different systems. So instead of doing this, they started to build out a solution where it had all the different new orders that they needed to check with the different systems online, but also it worked in an offline way, because if you've ever been on a shop floor, there's often not a good internet connection, right? So they built out this in order to quickly put it on from either their phone or from their iPad into the system, and that was again seamlessly connected. So it was a side-by-side application. I will come back to this also a bit later. But what is so remarkable about this project is that they went live in 3 weeks. Ever built an application that is functional in 3 weeks? I don't know. I don't know a lot of people who have done this. They also had a reduction in time and cost, right? Because these people didn't need to go back and forth. They had it just right on their phone and needed to do it from right away from there. And they had also a reduction in paper waste because they didn't need to have paper anymore. They just did it directly on the application. Okay, going over to the next part, which is SAP Build Process Automation. It's a way of how to automate your processes. So in here you have, for example, the way of how you create an automation. You can also have different parts because it also creates forms and workflows. And you can also browse a lot of business content, which again, we have also pre-built automations available. And if you see here, this is a process editor where you can build out the flow, right? If something happens this way, then they should get maybe notified. If it's under a certain threshold, then this doesn't need to get notified. You can also create then these different forms. You can create automations and so on and so on. In terms of the automation process, so directly building out an automation is fairly similar as well. You have on the right-hand side the different tasks. So for example, open Excel, right? Open this particular Excel, or open my email, scan my emails, right? And you just start by building out the flow from the top to the bottom and exactly tell it where it needs to get opened up. There, of course, are a lot of vendors out there that also do automation parts. But if you want to automate something within an SAP system, we have, again, a lot of pre-built things, available, and it works seamlessly with our solutions. So think about it if there's maybe any kind of repetitive or high manual processes in your organization. So this was the first bucket, SAP Build. SAP Build Code is our newly released product when it comes to development, which is like Java and JavaScript optimized. So it's about coding, testing, it's about integrating and also managing the whole life cycle of your application. I will show you a video about how we are fusing AI into this product when we come to the AI space. And then, of course, we also have our ABAP BTP environment. So those of you, I'm running a session tomorrow about clean core and, how do you get to a clean core? This is one of the products where you have a cloud way of building ABAP instead of directly in the core, using it on the BTP, so decoupling this from your core. And this is then how you use ABAP in the cloud, in a cloud fashion way, if you're interested in understanding how you can be able to still use ABAP, but do it with a clean core so you're much more able to upgrade faster and also consume the latest and greatest innovations. Okay, so we left now the third space. We're going over now to the fourth space, the AI space. And when we talk about the BTP, it's very interesting because it has a double role. First of all, we infuse AI directly into the BTP, but you can also build your own AI models or leverage some of the AI models that we put in there or give you access to as part of the extensible AI. You might have seen already this picture, but in a really high-level overview. Joule at the top is our co-pilot. Think about this kind of chat window where you can ask it a lot of different parts. I will show you an example in a second. Below, embedded AI capabilities. So across all of our cloud products, we are embedding AI directly in there so that you can already use it. You don't need to train the model. You don't need to test the model. You don't need to do anything. You just consume it. You are there and you have it. And that comes with your cloud products. And there again, we have also the Business Technology Platform where we infuse AI directly in there. And I will give you a couple of examples. But below we have this AI foundation. And the AI foundation sits on the Business Technology Platform. And this is now this area where you can build your own AI models, for example, or consume other AI models. I will show you also an example later today. But that's why it has this interesting split role, because it is the technology platform. So it uses, of course, provides you with different technology to also leverage it in the AI space and build something out. Below, we have this ecosystem of different partners because we are evaluating each different AI use case and which of these vendors might be the best one to help us in this journey. AI is nothing new to SAP, so there's a lot already out there. Here, just a quick overview of what is already out there. So in case you might not already using it and you have a cloud product, I saw a lot of hands also going early up. If you have a cloud product from SAP, right, get an understanding, because sometimes it's about that your administrator needs to put this little tick on that you are allowed to use it, because of course it comes with a more like, with a new, how to say, check that you want to use it, and that needs to be done by your administrator. So, okay, quickly, Joule. You probably have seen a lot of different videos, but here we're asking it for some of the historical sales data and profitability data of our physical stores in Europe. And it comes back with a quick overview and a different transaction. So you can see already here that it pulls the data from the backend and displays it in a nice way in this chat window. Or if you want to go and then go further and want to understand and bringing, for example, external data from the internet and from your internal database, you can also ask Joule and it displays it here. Then you say, based on this analysis, now I want to create a new position in Switzerland for a store owner. You can directly do this also from Joule by going through these different steps and how it's asking you. So thereby, Joule covers 3 different patterns. The first one is, the first pattern is a navigational pattern. So asking it, and it provides you with the right link to go somewhere. The second is that is a transactional pattern. So doing a task directly in this Joule window. So for example, here we're creating a leave request. You have seen also now how to create a position, right? So this is different ways of how to interact with Joule. And the third way is the informational pattern. So if you, for example, have any kind of policy documents that you want to upload, there is this functionality coming that you can ask, for example, how long can I use my company car? And it references back this document that you and your organization have provided. I mentioned we embed this now across all of these different parts. Here are some examples of how we're doing this. And we will now focus more, of course, on the BTP pillar, because that is what we're doing here today. So here a quick overview of how we're doing it in SAP build code, right? Remember from our app development point? So you can see here, oh, that is one video too quick. Nope, okay, doesn't want to play. So, but basically what you can do is you can do code development directly by like a natural language. So you just type, help me to create an app in terms of, for example, the different server or data models, help me to create this, and you can go step by step through using Joule also to do this. So again, Joule is embedded across all of our different cloud applications. So same window, and you can talk to it on all the different applications. If you're using SAP Analytics Cloud, so one of the products that I've shown you before, there's also a way of how you can use a natural language query in terms of asking for data. So here it says just, I think it was, show me the total gross margin by location. And you can see here how we went like further in and it displays it. Of course, from here you can drill down. But again, these are things of how you can interact with them, with the software by just using natural language. It even will understand if you're making a lot of typos, because I'm not really good in typing. So that means if I do like revenue and spell like have a like a twister in the different word, it will still pick it up. And if you're, for example, using it today, again, this is something which we have embedded. It's available today. You can use it. How do you activate it? Talk to your administrator. You need to just switch the toggle and activate it. But as a bit of where we want to go in the next half a year, we also have here a way of how to create these stories, right? These dashboards that I've shown you in the beginning. Again, through the Joule window, right? This transactional pattern where you define, okay, for who is it? What should it be focusing on? What kind of template should it use? And then create the story. Again, all from the Joule window itself. And then you have this different report in there. Okay, so we talked about embedded AI in SAP BTP, but what about extensible AI? So the AI Foundation covers a lot of different things. It has some pre-built AI services which you can plug and play in your different organization. If you are, for example, still on your ERP on-premise, the AI services are a great way to consume some AI in your on-premise part if you are interested in it. It's, for example, about this document scanning and extracting information, right? It's about different parts that we have already pre-built models and you can use them. We have our AI workload management, where you can build out some of the models yourself. We have the business and data context, which comes back to the data, laying the foundation. And we also have different build models. The last part that I want to show you is the Generative AI Hub. So the Generative AI Hub provides you with access to these different large language models providers. So now often the question comes, why should you use it through us? Well, I give you a good example. What are you doing, or maybe your employees are already doing? They might be working, and then they go onto ChatGPT and put some kind of data in there that you might not want to have them in there. So we have an agreement with these different vendors that they can process your query, because they need to, of course, use the large language models, but they are not using it, storing it, and not using it for training purposes. Okay? So with these models, you can get access and do some, for example, some prompting, building out some applications that are using this underlying large language models. I know the AI space can be a bit confusing, and also especially of where to start and what to do. So we're offering different AI jump boards. So if you're interested, this is a discovery workshop where we can talk to you about what might be a good use case to start with, because you should not boil the ocean. Start ideally with a small use case that is tangible and also generate the value. So, covering these 5 pillars, what a journey, right? It was a journey, but I hope you got it now a bit better in terms of what these different parts are. Just really quickly, who's using the BTP? Well, we have already a lot of different customers who are using it. We also have a lot of partners who are using it and also helping you on your journey. And a quick, really slow video about how many products we at SAP have built with the Business Technology Platform ourselves. So there's a lot that we are using this platform for in our own development that we are offering again as a product to you. So in terms of the platform itself, how you can even quicker realize value, and this is just where I go into the not starting from zero. We have a lot of pre-built business content. I talked about the Business Accelerator Hub, which I said this is one of the platforms that you should check out. Just again, quick overview about the different pre-built contents that we have available here, right? So if you haven't done this, go in there and check it out, because it really has a lot of content to accelerate your business. And another hot tip is the SAP Discovery Center. So, going into the last one platform, many choices. What that means is we're offering a lot of data centers around the world, which is again important if you're an international company, right? You might want to decide where you want to store your data. And we give you the choice, right? Multi-cloud strategy in terms of which vendor to use. And when we talk cloud, we should not neglect one topic, which is security. So, of course, it's very important. We have these different certifications. If you want to learn more about the different data center locations, or the SAP Trust Center, where you can find all of the information about security, this is the 2 links that I would definitely recommend you. So, where to start from here? A lot of links again, which is there's one thing not missing in SAP, it's information, but you need to know where are the right information. So another hot tip, these are these 2 things, the guidance framework in terms of understanding what kind of reference architectures, what are the best practices, what are the good decision guides, and the Discovery Center. I call it the BTP Bible. I use it every day to explain technology to our different vendors, because it really tells you what it is, who's using it, how much does it cost, where can I find more, and many more things around it. So, last but not least, there is this overview where we started off today with these different parts below, right? With now in a more detailed way with the different product names, and if you click on it later in the slides, you will be guided directly to the products that might interest you. But some of you might also appreciate these kind of overviews. This is now the one for the application development one, where you can see on the different business user, line of business expert, or even developer IT level. I've put these now for all of the 5 pillars in, not in these slides right now, but just again, if you might appreciate them, they will be in the slide deck that will be distributed later on. So I hope now you can get started right away with these things. Of course, you have maybe like a little bucket list for today. That was about me and this session today. I'm running another session on Clean Core if that is of interest to you tomorrow. And with that, please feel free to connect with me or write me an email if you have any more questions.
Ladies and gentlemen.